Hey, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. Do you have a refrigerator door that just isn't quite closing anymore? Well, if that's the situation you're facing, I'm going to show you 3 things to check and a quick appliance repair that'll take care of that dilemma. Stay tuned. Hey, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. Thanks for visiting us in this episode where I'm going to show you how to take care of the problem of a refrigerator door that doesn't quite close. Well, if you come around here, you can see the refrigerator that we've had for almost 16 years. This dude has really served us well. It's a Kenmore, which is made by Whirlpool, but it's worked really well. But recently, Dirt Farmer Maggie and I have noticed that when you shut the door, it just kind of stops like that. Doesn't quite do the thunk that closes solid. And there's been many times her and I have come back to the door knowing full well we've closed the door or we nudged it shut and it's sitting there like that. Well, what gives? Well, there's 3 possible things that are happening. Let's look at them really quickly. The first one is, please don't be insulted because a lot of people have had this happen, where there are items right in here that are simply sticking out far enough to stop the door from closing. And sometimes it's not very apparent. It may be where you've put something in the back and then you put a carton of eggs in the front or one of those soft foam packs with meat or something. And it happens to collide just right with one of these types of liners. We've cleaned this out for this video here because we're going to show you pulling this door off in a minute. But that can be a problem where there's things here and there that are just colliding. So please don't be insulted. Just check it and make sure that's not the problem. The second issue that can happen is the seal on the door itself is a gasket that's right along here. And this gasket sometimes starts to come out and is therefore holding the door open instead of doing exactly what it was designed to do, and that is to seal the door up. Now, if you notice here, this gasket is flexible, and what's inside of here, right here, is a thin magnet strip or ribbon that is of medium strength. And what this does is when you swing the door shut, you can hear it grab at the last. There it goes. And that gives this nice seal. And that magnet cannot be too strong because if it was, every time you'd open the door, it would try to pull the gasket out. But you've got to check to make sure the gasket has a nice firm seat, just like this, along the metal shell of the door, and you don't have any gaps. If you do, you'll need to pull that out, clean it out, perhaps put a little WD-40 in it, use a toothbrush or something to wash that out, brush it out, and then reseat this back in. There's one other thing I want to show you real quick, just in case you may not think there is a magnet in there, a ribbon, is I'm going to take the high-strength magnet I use for a stud finder, and we're just going to put it there and see. Do you get it? Oh, yeah. There you go. So there is a ribbon that is in there, but it's only moderate strength, and that's what's providing that nice thunk when you shut the door. All right, let's suppose that you've done both of those things and you still have a problem where the door is just kind of coming to there and it won't quite close. Well, you're going to need to do a just slight repair, and this is a really easy repair, but it takes just a couple of homeowner tools, and I don't care if you're young, old, male, female, you're handy or you're not. This is a repair you can do. Let me show you what you need. Well, that's a pretty simple array of tools, isn't it? First of all, you're going to need just a screwdriver that you may need to pry a part out, but you may not need this, but I just like to have this on hand. Then you're going to need a nut driver that's a 5/16. For our non-imperial friends, metric friends, on these refrigerators, I found that a number 8mm works just fine. And then I get an open-end wrench or with a little ratchet end on it also. So I have these 2 5/16. You're going to need parts to fix. And what are the parts? Well, you can see what it's called right here. Door cams or cams for the door. What in the world are we talking about? Well, in the lower corners of the doors where the pivot is, there's a set of cams that are interlocking so that when the door gets close to the closed position, it kind of falls in and holds the door and it assists it. Well, after 16 years of use, ours is worn out, as you can see in this picture. Boy, they have just worn out over a period of time. But this is what they look like when they're new. So look at the cams there, and you can see they're nice and sharp, and they fit perfectly. So when I put these together, notice you get that nice, see there? They want to fall back in, right back into shape, and that's the action you need. So you can get these through appliance repair part distributors. Many times there's bricks and mortar locations in different cities, or you can go online, and there's a couple places I like to go to, ereplacementparts.com or Sears Direct. I've got those both in the description below, and you can probably find your part. And many times these parts, this part fits over, I think, 40 different refrigerators I saw in the listing. So a lot of these refrigerators are made by the same or limited amount of manufacturers, and the parts are interchangeable. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead, and let me tell you what we're going to be doing, and then we're going to show it to you step by step. First thing I'm going to do is take off the cosmetic cover and the hinge cover at the top. We're going to undo the hinge, lift the door off, lay it on a packing blanket on the floor, remove the cam that's on the bottom of that door, replace it, and put a new cam on the hinge pin, and then reverse. Put the door back on, put it there, and it's a really simple thing. We'll have this done in about 15 minutes. So let's get to work and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is take off this cosmetic cover. And so you're going to need a nut driver. It's a little tight. There it goes. All right. And let's just go ahead and remove that out. As you can see, really simple. That comes off. And here's the real workhorses right here. These can be really tight. Yep. All right. Let's get a little helper on it. I'm going to throw on one of these. It gives me a little bit more lip. There we go. So I like to take off the back too. You can do it whatever order you want. Notice that I'm kind of holding the door with my body over here. So as we take these off, we're just going to go ahead and go. Here we go. All right, now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and lift this out. And as you can see, that hinge pin is what holds the door. We'll just leave that right there. And we'll go ahead. The door is about ready to come off. Okay, let's go ahead and take the door off. You're just going to pull it back, lift up. It's going to come out of the bottom pin. And when you do, here you have the whole door. And now you can see why we emptied this earlier before. And you can have this open. If I wasn't explaining it, we would just go, boom, go very fast here. But the door is surprisingly light. So if you're thinking, boy, this is going to be really hard, not really. And there's good places of grip. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use a packing blanket on the floor here because we want to keep everything in good condition. And we're going to lower the door down. And now we need to work on right here. There's the cam. And it's a little difficult to see, but it is quite worn. And if you look over here also, that one is really worn as well. So both these need to come off and be replaced. So what we're going to do is go ahead, take our nut driver, pull this out. As you can see, it's simply one nut. This is where that flat screwdriver can come in handy to kind of get into it a little bit. There it comes. Notice you just pull out the piece. There it is. We're going to take our new one, put it in its place, push all the way in, replace the nut here or the screw, seat that in nicely. Don't over tighten, but just make sure it's good and snug. We're now done with the door portion. Let's go ahead and repair this part over here. So we're simply going to remove the worn door cam here. And notice now you have the metal hinge pin right there. We're simply going to put this back, rotate it around into the right position there, replace. Again, nice and snug. These are self-lubricating. If you want, you could put a little bit of like lithium grease or something like that on that. But if you look close, you can see this is quite worn. And it should be after 16 years of active family life. I'd say it did a good job here. And these parts only cost somewhere around $6 each. Okay, let's go ahead and put the door back on. You're going to have to finesse this a little bit to get it where it needs to go. There it is, right there. Go ahead and swing the door in place. I could feel the magnetics grab right away, and the door will stay there long enough for me to put the top on. All right, let's go ahead and put the top together. All right, we can go ahead and reline here. If there's not sufficient grease on here, you can put a little bit of grease on this. We're simply going to put it back in, and we'll lift it slightly to get around that nut. And then I'll line the door back up. We'll just reverse steps here. I'm going to go ahead and start all these. You may have to wiggle the door a little bit like this to align, and that's perfectly normal. Let's go ahead and nut driver all these down. Make sure you don't tighten any one of them all the way home initially. Just get them all ready to snug down. All right, now one last thing to do is to just look and make sure the gap along here looks good. And it does. When I did that, I have a nice line, which you can't see from that angle. But you'll have to trust me. And there we go. We're going to go ahead and drive these home now. And I'm just going to put a little bit of wrench pressure. I don't want to over tighten too much, but that helps me to make sure they're good and snug. There, that one benefited. All right, now the cover goes back on. All right, let's take a look and see if we have fixed our problem. Okay, let's see if what we did works, okay? So I'm going to take this, I'm just going to slowly close it. Look at that. Closes right up, and those cams now take care of that. Wow. If you found this video to be helpful, won't you like it? And better yet, please subscribe to our channel, and when you do, please ring the bell, because then you'll get notified approximately every Friday when a new episode comes out about Maggie's Kitchen, truck life, product reviews, homeowner skills, shop life, and all sorts of fun stuff where you just do it yourself. Until the next time, this is Dirt Farmer Jay from dirtfarmerjay.com.